I don't know, maybe it takes being a grandma, a 70-year-old grandma to get radicalized. Or maybe it takes just, I have no fucks left to give. I just don't. You know, I've had a great career. I have a great marriage. I have a great family and friends. My publishing team. People, I love it when people say, I'm reporting you to your publisher. Guess what? My publisher is behind me all the way. And if they weren't, they wouldn't be my publisher.
Hi, friend. It's Daryn. Welcome to Call Me Friend, powered by Miss Lou's Cabin, an Airbnb property on a remote section of the Georgia coast. This is the podcast where I call a friend and you get one heck of an incredible story. Today, I'm thinking about reinvention. And before you feel too much pressure that you have to reinvent, let me just kind of back that up a little bit and say, what if we weren't talking about reinvention, but we were talking about evolving and evolution? This might be something you're needing to consider at this point in your life. Now, don't get me wrong about reinvention. This is something I've long believed that we kind of need to do that we don't really talk about enough. You might not be a network news anchor who lost her job and then went on to create a media company and a podcast and a website, but chances are you've had something end, which kind of leads to my theory that everything ends. Every job, every relationship, every life ends, which brings you to a place where you're going to have to kind of figure out what the next thing is. It might even be that you're a stay-at-home mom and those rotten kids grew up and moved away. What is the next thing? How do you do that? Which is why I've decided today to call my friend Mary Kay Andrews. Now, let me tell you about Mary Kay Andrews. You probably know about her, that she's written over 30 books, that she has been on the New York Times bestsellers list more times than I can even count, that she's got an incredible social media following, but she also continues to evolve. She didn't start at all those things. She has evolved into those, and most recently has evolved into being very outspoken on social media and has a huge social media presence because of that. How does she do that? Why does she do that? And what is the one thing that she is doing right now that is hopefully going to change the way her life plays out from the way her mother's life played out? There's one way to find out. Let's call Mary Kay Andrews. This episode of Call Me Friend is brought to you by Miss Lou's Cabin, an Airbnb property on a remote section of the Georgia coast. Do you ever go to a beautiful resort area and you long to know what it looked like before they paved paradise and put up a parking lot? Well, now you have your chance. Miss Lou's Cabin sits on 7 private acres on a tidal saltwater marsh about 50 minutes south of Savannah, Georgia. It is a place so quiet you don't even hear road noise. Instead, what you will hear: pink spoonbills, wild dolphins feeding off your private dock, the breeze whistling through the Spanish moss that hangs from the countless oak trees all over the property. The porch overlooking the marsh is the perfect place to hang with family, read a zillion books, catch the sunrise, all while you stay in a restored log cabin that has all the comforts and amenities of a beautiful home. Miss Lou's Cabin. Check out the link in the show notes or simply Google Miss Lou's Cabin and you'll find this piece of paradise. Well, hey, friend, thank you for taking my call.
I'm happy to hear from you.
What am I interrupting today? Because you have always 1,000 things going on.
Oh, well, today I took a 2.5-mile walk.
Good.
And then this afternoon, I'm reading a book for one of our upcoming podcasts for Friends in Fiction. And, you know, who knows? Maybe I'll get a little writing in.
As a side hustle, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
So who am I talking to today? Am I talking to Mary Kay or am I talking to Kathy?
I think you're talking to Mary Kay because I put on lipstick.
Okay, well, fancy.
I mean, I've still got on my leggings and my bedroom slippers where people can't see me. But since I've got on makeup and a nice sweater, I'm Mary Kay.
I feel very important that you put out that effort to be here. Very good.
I feel important to be asked.
Well, speaking of taking long walks, it seems from here, like you in recent months, maybe longer, you have put extra effort into your fitness and into your health.
I really have. Yeah. I turned 70 a year and a half ago. And
Congratulations.
thank you. When I was approaching that age, it occurred to me that my mom died at 71.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. She dropped dead of a heart attack. And so she had multiple health issues, but the biggest issue was she didn't take care of herself. And at that point in May of 24, I thought, I'm going to reevaluate everything I'm doing. Because I want to be healthy and I want to live a longer life. And I totally don't want my husband's next wife spending my money.
Well, here's to that.
Here's to that.
Is there better motivation than that? I think not.
Yeah, I started doing a lot of different things. The big one was walking at least 10,000 steps a day, and working out, doing weight training. My husband and I work out at a gym with a trainer twice a week, and being more careful about what I eat and that kind of thing.
I do want to say about a husband's next wife, I find when I think of her for my husband, she's very convenient for things that I don't want to do. I tell him, well, he can do that with the next Mrs. Swanson.
Yes.
Not spend my money, but like we have an ongoing discussion, not argument, about our kitchen island. It goes, let's say, landscape, and he wants to rip up the whole kitchen just to make it go the other way. And he keeps insisting that that's the best. And I'm telling you, it's not going to happen. But I keep telling him, well, he can do it with his next wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure the next Mrs. Swanson will love to have it going that way.
Yeah. And the next Mrs. Trocheck will have a sense of direction and will be very compliant. And I am neither. I am neither of those things at this point after almost 50 years.
Were you ever, even after like the first 5 years?
Probably not.
Yeah. I think he knows who he has.
I hope.
Yes. And he's still here and he still has quite the bargain. Yeah. I'm just going to say, there you go. One thing you and I have in common is this traditional news background.
Yeah.
Yes. So you being a newspaper reporter and me being a television reporter. And one of the things that fascinates me about you is this sense of evolution. I know reinvention is kind of like a hot term right now, but I don't see you as reinventing. I see you as constantly evolving in so many areas of your life. So how did that evolution from newspaper reporter, which I have no doubt, I bet you are I bet you're really good. I bet you're really good at your job. But what inspired you to go to writing fiction?
I was frustrated. I had bosses that did not think that I was the best in the business. And I was frustrated. I felt like they had pigeonholed me and were limiting me. And newspapers had changed. It was the era of USA Today. And I was being assigned shorter. I was pigeonholed as the light bright girl.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have put you on that.
Well, my fiction kind of was an antidote to that. I wanted to write bigger stories and I do like writing bright and I do some of that too, but
sure.
I just was really frustrated. I felt like I was being held back and so I started writing in secret. And I had 3 other friends in the newsroom this was at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And it was in the late 80s. And there were a group of us in features. I was a features reporter, although I had started in hard news. And so we all started meeting like once a week at a bar down the street from the paper.
In downtown Atlanta.
At the Kimball House.
Yeah, okay.
On Marietta Street. And I would write. I didn't have a computer at home, so I would sneak back to the paper. My kids were quite young. I would sneak back to the paper after I put them to bed, and I would write. And I would, print out a chapter. Next day, we would meet for lunch, and we would, swap chapters and talk about our work. We weren't really critiquing. And eventually,
more like sharing and encouraging.
Yeah, really.
Okay.
But eventually, they just wanted to drink Bloody Marys and bitch about the paper.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, but it's not very productive.
No, that's true.
It doesn't get you a book contract. But
it does not. And that was the goal. a book contract?
It turns out I never knew how goal-oriented I was.
Really?
I really thought I was this laid back person who just took life as it came. And it didn't occur to me. I guess, by the time I was in my late 30s, I had young kids at home.
Right.
And I was dissatisfied with my career and wanted more. And eventually I thought, you know what? I'm not asking for more. I'm going to get it.
Good for you.
I'm not asking for your permission anymore to have a career. We kept meeting and drinking Bloody Marys, but I kept writing and gave myself the assignment to figure out how you get published. And at that time, a lot of authors were coming through Atlanta on book tours, and I would get myself assigned to interview authors, pick novelists.
Great idea.
And at the end of every interview, I would ask them, I would say, hey, I'm working on a novel. Can I ask you a question about agents? And so I sort of made that my dirty little side hustle.
Well, okay, dirty being the key word and not asking permission because one of my daughters, when she was little, would like to say, was that legal? Was that legal for you to be going and using the company equipment to be writing your novel?
No.
No. Okay.
Well, it wasn't
not illegal.
No,
but it really wasn't.
Yeah, no,
it was naughty.
It was against
naughty.
Company policy, totally. And the other thing I found out, besides being goal oriented, was that I had a pretty wide, for a nice Catholic girl, I had a pretty wide subversive streak. So if you told me not to do it, and the reason you told me not to do it was for your benefit, then maybe I was going to do what I wanted to do anyway. I was still producing stories. I was doing everything I was supposed to do, but I was tunneling out.
So let's go down the checklist of what it takes to make it. So number one, you have to have butt in seat, right? You actually have to do the writing.
You do.
Probably need to be good, but there's a lot of people out there who are good, who do that, who never break through. What was the key to breaking through that first time?
Part of it was perseverance. Part of it was what I was writing. I wrote my first novel, and it was set at a fictional newspaper in Savannah, where I had started my newspaper career. And I queried agents and editors, all with the information that I had gleaned from picking the brains of published authors. And I also had a great friend and mentor, fairy godmother at the paper, a longtime columnist, Celestine Sibley. And
that's anybody who lived in Atlanta up through the early to mid 90s.
Yeah.
I arrived in 94. She was at the very, very tail end of her of her life, I think.
She was.
But knows her as a legend.
Yeah.
Not just a columnist, an absolute legend.
She wasn't just a legend. She was a person who, if she believed in you, would go to bat for you. And she believed in me when I didn't know that I believed in me. And so she took my first manuscript, which was totally against her own policy of reading unpublished manuscripts, because that's how you get sued for plagiarism. She'd had a she'd had a dear novelist friend who'd been sued for plagiarism after he read someone's manuscript. But she took my first manuscript to her editor at HarperCollins, who was her dear friend. He didn't buy that manuscript. And so, but I kept going. I started another one. That one was set in Atlanta with a female character. She was a former Atlanta police detective who is frustrated by the sexism in the department. And
believable.
She gets a PI license and still can't really make the rent, as we say. And then her mother talks her into buying a cleaning business called the House Mouse. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I was writing into a trend that I didn't know existed, which was regional mysteries with strong female characters. And so that's what I read. I read Sue Grafton, and I read Marcia Muller, and I read Sarah Paretsky. They were my three kind of heroes, fictional author heroes. I mean, I read a lot of men too, but so I was lucky that I bumped into or coincided with a publishing trend. Timing was important.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing someone, never underestimate knowing someone, especially if that someone can help open doors for you. But all of those things don't matter if you don't have the goods. If you're
Yep.
not, and so that's what happened. He didn't buy my first book. He bought my second book. And again, breaking rules. I sent him my second manuscript. I only had 5 chapters. But
he bought it.
He bought it based on, which you don't do these days. You don't.
Okay.
No, nobody's, and I was unagented too.
Don't try this at home. Don't try this at home.
Right. Remember, this was 35 years ago.
Yes.
I had an agent who was interested in representing me, but before we could come to an agreement, this publisher at HarperCollins said, "Why don't you come up? I want to publish your book." And so it happened that the agent had been to she was down with the flu and she couldn't go to this meeting with me. So I went by myself. Okay. And they said, we're going to publish you and we want to give you a 2-book contract.
So you don't necessarily want to give the agent a piece of that, but you also need somebody to look over this contract.
Oh, no. I absolutely wanted to give the agent a piece of it.
Okay. You did.
Yeah. She negotiated the contract. She actually lined up another editor who was interested. So another thing.
A little bidding war.
Yeah. Another thing that happened. Well, I don't know if it was a bidding war, but it was an auction. And that doesn't normally happen with first time novelists. So no, I tell people, people think that, you don't really need an agent. Well, I needed an agent. I still need an agent. And I've only had 2 agents, but I've been really blessed to have agents who were my full partners in the business. So it's not that they just make a deal. It's that we talk about the book. We talk about my career. We talk about the trajectory. So if you think that a literary agent, all they do is make a deal, that's
not true.
That's just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, they do so much. Mine have always done so much more.
I actually, worked with agents in TV, and then I had a book agent when I was writing more. And I think my book agent worked harder and better for me than any agent I ever dealt with all due respect to all the agents who I've worked with. There's just, I guess, some good people in that field. But was that book contract, that 2-book contract, enough to evolve past saying, sayonara, see you AJC, see you newspaper life?
Again, I thought I told my husband, I've got a book contract. I'm going to quit my job. And he was, no, you're not. What if they don't publish your book? And I'm like, they're going to publish my book. I have a contract. I have what was considered a pretty nice
advance at the time.
But we'd never known anybody who'd gotten a book contract. We were, my husband was afraid, they're going to pull the rug out from you. And then, we have a falling down old house and 2 kids in Catholic school. So, but I finally just had to say, look, I actually went to my editor at the time and I said, can I work part-time? I have a book contract. Can I work part-time? Really, all I care about is keeping my benefits. And she said, no, your publisher doesn't want that. So they kind of forced my hand, which was good.
All right. So then you were out. So then you do a number of books in this mystery series, but again, an evolution where you evolve into Mary Kay Andrews, because the first sets of the first books were not as Mary Kay Andrews. How and why did that happen?
Yeah, no, I wrote 10 books. The first series, the Callahan Garrity series, there were 8 of those. Then I had a very short-lived 2-book series that were set in my hometown of St. Pete. And they were doing well. Harper was happy. I was getting nice reviews, but I was impatient. I wanted more and I wanted it faster. And I had an idea for a different kind of book set in Savannah, where my newspaper career had started. And I, and at that time, I kind of had my hand forced. My my first agent was getting out of the business. I had to find a new agent. So when I went agent shopping, I was looking, I told the agents that I was in conversation with, I have an idea for a new book. I think I want to write it under a pseudonym because at the time, the big chains really, they decided who had a career and who didn't. So if I had a new Kathy Trocheck Callahan Garrity novel, the Barnes and Nobles, the Walden Books, the Borders, the B. Dalton.
Borders. Yeah.
Borders. Yeah. Chains that are no longer with us.
Yeah.
They could click a button on their computers and see, well, we sold, 2,000 of those last year. And so we'll order 2,000 this year. And it didn't make a difference if it was a better book or a different kind of a book. So I was captive to my numbers. And I thought, well, I'm going to try a new book, not in this series. I intended for it to be a mystery. There was a body and
I gave you a dead body. What do you want? I gave you a body.
Well, I honestly thought I'm writing mystery. So I, and it just happened. I had just signed with my new agent and I was up for contract with my publisher. And so I said, I'm going to try a pseudonym. And it's a combination of my kids' names. My daughter, Katie, was Mary Kathleen, and my son is Andrew. And Stuart shopped it and said he didn't tell Harper, my publisher, that it was me. And he didn't tell the other house that he shopped it to that it was me. But my editor at Harper could tell it was me. I mean, she'd edited, 10 of my books. So, but when I handed it in, she said, that was Savannah Blues. And she said, I handed it in and she said, okay, well, we're not going to sell this book as a mystery. We're going to sell it as Southern fiction. And there was a strong romantic story in that book. And I'd solved the mystery. And so she said, but you don't tell me what happens with the relationship. And I'm like, well, it's a mystery. And she said, no, you need to tell us how the relationship ends up. And so I'd actually gone down to Savannah to work on that book. And I had to go back for another 2 weeks to figure out. And that's when I learned that murder's hard, but relationships are even harder.
Well, isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
That is definitely the truth. You mentioned how you came up with Mary Kay Andrews, and you mentioned your daughter, your beloved daughter. And I know as we take this call that this is a very big week in your family and in her story. And if you wouldn't mind talking about Katie.
Sure. Yeah. Katie was my best friend. She was a mom. I'm sorry.
Do not apologize.
Hey, you know what? I've decided to let myself be vulnerable. So, and I'm Irish too. So, double barreled.
And you're a mom.
And I'm a mom. She, 2 children, they live around the corner from us. And she came down with COVID in 2021 and couldn't get in to see a doctor. Because you couldn't get in to see doctors.
Right.
And everyone else got over their COVID, but she kept getting sicker and sicker. And by the time I finally said, you call that doctor, and if she won't see you, I'm taking you to the ER. And the doctor said, well, go have some lab work done and we'll find out what's going on. And then the next day her doctor called and said, go to the ER, you're in liver failure. So her COVID had resulted in liver failure. And she was on a waiting list for a liver transplant. And she got COVID again. And she died.
For a second time.
Yeah. February 9th, 2022. So her children at the time were 12 and 14. So, we're so blessed. They live around the corner and have a large and very giving community, and my son-in-law is amazing, and his folks are amazing. So we just, put one foot in front of the other and keep going.
And also do things in Katie's honor and in Katie's memory.
Yeah, we started a scholarship fund in her name at the parochial school, where Katie and her brother went, and where Katie's children went. There's a wonderful nonprofit in Atlanta called Helping Mamas.
I know it.
Yeah, and they supply diapers and baby needs, and child care needs for moms in vulnerable positions. And so they've done a car seat and a pack and play drive, and we do stuff with them. I've started quietly donating to political causes because I have some pretty deep feelings about the political landscape right now.
Well, let's dive into that, because that's another part of your evolution. Because I don't know the whole story, but I know. Well, first of all, thank you so much for sharing Katie with me and with whoever's listening to our call. She continues to be a gift, and you can see how she continues to live on your heart and her kids and your son-in-law as well. As for this politics thing, I am watching you online quite a bit, and I don't know exactly when it started, but you weren't doing it when you were a newspaper reporter, because that wouldn't have jived. No. So at some point, of course, there wasn't social media and all that. Was there a moment where you said, screw it, or even worse language, or a different language, more colorful language, screw it, I'm just going to let it go? Or has this been an evolution to speak out?
I think it's been a kind of an evolution. When Trump got elected the first time, I participated in the Women's March here in Atlanta, and with tens of thousands of other people, women and men, marched to the Capitol. That started me thinking about what's wrong with American politics. And then with Trump, basically trying to sweep COVID under the carpet, minimizing it, deliberately misstating facts. And I'd seen the direct effect of that. I'd lost my beloved daughter. And then, when he got reelected, I woke up just feeling so depressed the morning after the 2024 election. And I thought, what can I do? And I'm going to do what I can do, and I'm going to speak out. And I'm going to, I had already started saying things on my social media. And of course, what the response I got from a lot of people was shut up and write.
Exactly. Which is what you continue to get too. I mean, every single post has at least one person who says, well, that's it. I used to love your books, and I used to love to escape to the beach, and I used to love this, but no more your books for me. Yeah. To which you say,
don't care. I just don't care.
You go farther than that. You almost say,
I do. I don't know if we were saying dropping F-bombs on this podcast or not, but
that's fine.
I say, I don't care. I won't be a hypocrite. I'm not going to shut up to sell books. I won't do that. And if that means, that people cancel me, they were never fans anyway. And I leave those posts up on my social media, when people say that kind of stuff, because then my fans will go after these people and say, who are you? What are you doing here? Move along. And I'll tell you, Daryn, I've been astonished by strangers stop me in airports, in restaurants. I walk in the park near my house, and people who I don't know stop me and say, "Oh my gosh, you're Mary Kay Andrews. I love what the actual fuck Wednesday." I was at a screening for the new remake of Wuthering Heights last night at the Plaza Theater, and that theater well.
Yes, right there. Mm-hmm.
And two different people, I was standing in line, two different people recognized me, came up and said, "I'm with you, keep going." So I guess it takes, I don't know, maybe it takes being a grandma, a 70-year-old grandma to get radicalized. Or maybe it takes just, I have no fucks left to give. I just don't. You know, I've had a great career. I have a great marriage. I have a great family and friends. My publishing team, people, I love it when people say, I'm reporting you to your publisher. Guess what? My publisher is behind me all the way. And if they weren't, they wouldn't be my publisher. Because again,
which was my other question. Have you ever gotten any pushback professionally? Like, maybe we want to tone that down. No.
I mean, I try not to be an attack dog. I try not to dwell on people's, personal appearances and that kind of crap, because I don't care about that. I care about, we have people who are unqualified to hold the office of dog catcher running this country. So, no, my publisher's been wonderful and supportive. And what's amazing is that my social media following has ballooned.
The exact opposite of this is going to be a problem. Not that you're doing it for that.
No, that's not the reason I do it. But to my amazement, my social media following has taken off.
Tell me about the evolution of you touched on this. Tell me about the evolution of, is it What the Fuck Friday? No, it's
What the Actual Fuck.
What the Actual Fuck Wednesdays.
Yeah, well, I started out I was calling it walk and talk. And I would just, film myself walking in the park, talking about whatever outrage had my spleen in an uproar that week. And I was amazed when people started commenting on it and following me, and other people would follow and they'd say, oh my gosh, I've loved your books for years, but it makes me happy that you believe the same things that I do. And then I realized I've tried to get a little more sophisticated with what I do. So I finally figured out that an Instagram reel can't be more than 3 minutes, or you lose your audience. But I want it to be real, and I want to be vulnerable. It's not some team in New York. It's just me and my iPhone. I write and edit the reel, and try to edit it down to under 3 minutes. And if it's a crazy Wednesday, like last Wednesday, I didn't do it Wednesday because I was actually recording 2 different podcasts. So I waited until I think I had Fuck It Friday instead. So, I'm just reacting to whatever batshittery is going on in the world. And unfortunately, it's like drinking out of a fire hose.
No lack of content. No lack of content. You never have what will I talk about today? What will I talk about this week?
No, it's narrowing it down is the problem.
I get that. I would like to invite you to be part of our new segment. It is called Asking for a Friend. Very good. Okay, so this is where one of my listeners writes in, and my idea was, I have these amazing friends. Why should I be the only one with access? So this is giving access to another friend. And so our friend Martha writes in today, and she wants to know, what is the most important life skill as we age and face so much unwanted change? What would you say to Martha?
I think, Martha, the most important skill you have is the ability to pivot. Not being so rooted in the way you've always done things. Being open to new possibilities and new ideas, and being ready to take a flying leap without looking for the safety net.
I like that. Which would your social media presence and your political commentary would definitely fit into that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but it's also in what I choose to write about. I don't want to write the same book over and over again. So, I've tried to expand my horizons that way, and with my health journey, saying, yes, I can walk 4 miles in a day. In fact, I can walk 5 miles in a day some days. And yes, I will go to the gym and I will work with a trainer and I will lift weights. And yes, I think I will try yoga. I think opening yourself to change is I think the way to weather the depredations of aging.
Can I jump on that? Or
Yeah.
Can I take it from there? So I have a theory that I live by, and that's everything ends. Everything ends.
Sure.
Every job, every life, every relationship. And that's not sad. That's actually inspiring, because then you appreciate things when they're here, and that we tend to get excited by beginnings, really comfortable in the middle, and then just devastated by endings. And yet everything is going to end.
Yeah.
And if you appreciate it's going to end, then that would lead right into your pivot.
Yeah. I mean, I think of myself as someone who's very risk averse.
Really?
I think of myself that way, but it turns out I'm not. That's really not what I am. I guess I'm a person who maybe jumps first and asks questions later.
Well, let me ask you this question. The next thing, the next book coming out, Road Trip.
Yes.
What is this? What's the book, and how is it different from earlier books?
Well, the book is about a pair of sisters, long estranged. They grew up in Savannah in a working class Irish Catholic family. I grew up in a working class Irish Catholic family, but in Florida. And the one sister is a rule follower, and the good sister, she stayed at home in Savannah. She's a college English professor, and her sister, her older sister, is the wild one. She's the prodigal daughter. She's a struggling actress. And so their mom has just passed away, and they discover that their mother, they've always had this family portrait, and their mother's always insisted that it's Anglo-Irish aristocracy, and that the portrait is by a famous artist and it's worth a lot of money. And they don't really believe their mother, because their mother is what we now call a fabulist. But their mother, her last wish is that the sisters, and she's saved money, she wants them to take a road trip to Ireland to really to reconnect, but also to find out the truth about this portrait. And it just happens that both of the sisters, their names are Maeve and Therese, and it happens that both of them are at a crossroads in their lives, and they kind of don't have any choice. They have to do it. So they take a road trip to Ireland to find out the truth about this portrait, and they find out the truth about their family, and they find out the truth about themselves, and they find love both of them find love in unexpected places. So there's an old murder, and there's a new murder. So there's, I usually do have that in my books, and there's romance. I think the main difference with this one is the Irish setting, the setting in Ireland.
Did you go?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. As part of it. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that. You and I also share a love of the Georgia coast.
Yes.
I
love seeing those live oaks with the Spanish moss and the resurrection fern.
We call this backyard.
Yeah.
We're about 30 miles south of you in McIntosh County. This would be a great setting for one of your books. This county, I don't know if you've been through here, but it's like if you were going from
I know about
Savannah
McIntosh
to
County.
Yeah, there's not even a single stoplight in the whole county.
Yeah.
It is another land. It is another place.
Yeah.
If you ever want to come.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And for years, was run by one politically connected family. And
the Poppels.
There used to be a country music song called "You Don't Go Hog Hunting in McIntosh County."
I believe it. I think it was the most corrupt. It was considered the most corrupt county in the entire country. There's a great book, "Praying for Sheetrock."
Yeah,
I don't know if you've ever read that one.
I have.
It tells the incredible story of this place.
Yeah, and
a couple of questions. Go ahead.
I was going to say the author lives not far from me in Druid Hills.
Yes, another Atlantan.
And she's married to a very prominent criminal defense attorney.
Yes, who's part of that, how the whole story unfolded. And I would definitely recommend Praying for Sheetrock if somebody wants a great, true mystery of how political
Definitely.
corruption got turned over. Couple questions I'd like to ask on all my calls. One, who is the friend of yours that the world needs to know about?
The friend of mine that the world needs to know about. Oh gosh, I have so many. There's, I'm thinking just because of the way of the world right now, a woman, I don't know, maybe the people who started helping mamas, because
Okay.
they do so much. Stephanie, I can't
And
think.
Jamie?
Yes, Jamie. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We will put a link to that organization in the show notes.
They do so much. Yeah, Helping Mamas does a lot with a little. When I get depressed, I'll go to their website and donate some money.
That's a great fix it, a great pick me up.
Yeah, sometimes, sometimes I'll do Habitat for Humanity. Sometimes I'll do Helping Mamas.
And what is the thing that you are recommending to friends right now? It can be a book, it can be a show, it could be a thing, it could be a kitchen gadget, social media account. Anything, like when you say to a friend, oh, you've got to check out X.
Yeah. Well, I'm reading Heather Cox Richardson's newsletter to America. My husband and I watch thrillers. So, we're anxiously waiting for the next season of The Diplomat to start.
Have you watched Department Q?
No.
Oh, okay. It's on, I'm going to say Netflix. It's on Netflix. It's a Scottish mystery.
Oh.
With some very dark, twisted, kind of funny characters. Yes. Department Q.
I just wrote it down.
Department Q is by the same guy who wrote The Queen's Gambit. The chess. Yes. So if you like slow horses, you will like Department Q.
Perfect.
And I have a thing, I can't watch scary things. And that's just about pushed about as scary as I can do.
Yeah,
news, I could see anything and I could talk about the worst things in the world and just have not affect me. But in fiction, I can't. I don't
want to be scared. I don't want someone to jump out at me and scare me.
Or nothing like that. Well, I hope this call wasn't too scary.
No. Once we got the technical glitches done, I've had a good time.
That's so good. That's so good. Well, I'm going to link to all those things, to the new book coming up, to the organizations, and to all the things that you're recommending. I just appreciate your time so much. Thank you.
Great to see you.
Good talking to you.
Bye-bye.
Yes, you too. Well, that was such a thrill to talk with Mary Kay, Kathy. I kind of know her as Kathy because we know each other through our mutual friend. I didn't even mention this, Kristen Harmel, who I've had on an earlier episode. Together, they, with two other writers, have this show on Facebook every week called Friends in Fiction. And they so inspire me as women who have come together. I mean, they're amazing best-selling authors on their own, but they came together during COVID to create the show, to support each other, to support independent bookstores, to do something positive. And I just love it. So I've been introduced to her as Kathy. So it's kind of weird. I never knew if I was supposed to say Mary Kay. That didn't seem right. Or Kathy, because she said I was talking to Mary Kay because she put on lipstick. Anyhow, both of them were great to have on. And I'm particularly inspired by what she said as being 71, 72 years old and not giving a fuck anymore. Excuse my language, or don't. That's something I'm really thinking about. I've always been kind of so careful and so measured. I'm a journalist. I'm not supposed to have an opinion. There's a kind of a public persona. But the more I do this podcast and the more I look and admire women like Mary Kay / Kathy, I'm kind of loosening up. So buckle up, because there might be some more opinions coming your way on social media and here. Meanwhile, one opinion I do have is a big ask. I am this close, and by this, I mean like so close to hitting the number of subscribers on YouTube that I need in order to monetize. And frankly, being honest and vulnerable, I need to monetize this podcast if I'm going to keep doing it. So one little free thing you can do to help me out, if you are listening and watching on YouTube, if you would just subscribe, that little red box comes on when you start watching any of the videos of this podcast. If you just click it, it's free. and you would be a huge help. And even if you're listening on another platform, if you really want to go the extra mile, go over to YouTube and find me over there and find this podcast and subscribe, even if you never watch us over there. But if you double watch, that would be even better. That's what I can use from you. What I have for you is a number where you can always reach me. I like to share this. It is 912-766-0446. You can call or text me any time of day. You could go there to let me know a question that you want to ask one of my guests, some kind of advice, just like we had a question from Martha today. You can also find me on all the social platforms, on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of it, LinkedIn. I'm kind of all over the place. I would love simply to be connected and to hear from you. An idea for a show, a question for asking for a friend, or maybe just say, hey, always great to hear from a listener. I really appreciate you. Until next time, looking forward to chatting soon. Thanks, friend. You've been listening to Call Me Friend. Executive producers for the show are Daryn Kagan and me, Daryn Kagan. The show is produced by Produce Your Podcast and Journeyist Inc. Production by Abe Falek, Tammy Gagno, and Rob Paw.
Before you go, Call Me Friend is more than a podcast, it's a community. So head over to callmefriendpodcast.com to join the conversation. Or you can call or send a text to 912-766-0446, and you can leave Daryn a message there, or maybe even share a story of your own. Because when life gets real, you don't have to go it alone. Call a friend. Call this friend.